Chapter 291, 186, Water God. The ninth elder of the divine plant cult has fallen. What's happening? The moment the hunched masked person's face drastically changed, Linziken also sensed the terrifying energy rushing up from below at a high speed. But danger perception didn't alert. Without time to think further. The next second, the previously calm sea suddenly turned turbulent. In an instant, it whipped up a terrifying, sky-high tidal wave. It violently struck towards the hunched masked person above. The creation of the tidal wave was extremely fast, and it moved towards the hunched masked person even faster. Caught off guard, the hunched masked person was instantly engulfed by the tidal wave and dragged into the depths of the sea. Linziken, who had been entangled by the masked person's vines, was also affected and swept away into the sea along with him. However, he didn't sink much before he felt a huge yet gentle pushing force on his body. Then he was no longer sinking, instead, he rapidly rose toward the sea surface. Splash! A crisp sound of breaking water resounded. Linziken burst out of the water in an instant, pushed forward by the wave beneath him, surging hundreds of meters towards Shen Qinghan. Before he could figure out what was happening, he was already pushed back to Shen Qinghan's side. Almost at the same time, the wave beneath him disappeared in an instant. The sea became calm again, as if everything that had just happened was an illusion. Xiao Chen! Shen Qinghan cried and embraced Linziken, her eyes so swollen from crying that large tears streamed down her cheeks non-stop. Seeing her cry so hard, Linziken wanted to comfort her. But knowing it wasn't the time for comfort, he let her cry while he swam away from the area with her, all the while spreading his senses to gauge the situation. The terrifying tidal wave that appeared just now was too sudden. It surged up from below, charging towards the sky. It directly dragged the hunched masked person, whose biological level was as high as rare level, into the depths of the sea, vanishing without a trace. Was it Principal Yuan? Linziken, while swimming quickly away from the area, constantly sensed and scrutinized his surroundings, searching for Yuan Dongji's figure. In his mind, only Yuan Dongji had the power to summon such a terrifying tidal wave. But after sensing for so long and looking around, he still hadn't spotted Yuan Dongji. It seemed that the tidal wave just now wasn't Yuan Dongji's doing. Linziken felt puzzled by this. Right at that moment, he noticed that when Shen Qinghan's tears fell to the sea surface, a pair of tiny hands would rise up from the sea, palms up and joined together, as if reverently catching Shen Qinghan's tears like accepting a sacred gift. The hands were baby-sized, made of water, and were quite incredible. Witnessing the scene before him, and then recalling how he had been pushed right to Shen Qinghan's side by the wave, Linziken couldn't help but realize that the tidal wave might not have been caused by Yuan Dongji, but by his childhood sweetheart, Shen Qinghan. Shen Qinghan had been inseparable from water since she was a child. As she grew up, she even heard strange voices from the sea several times. It seemed she had a deep connection with the ocean. So, is she a water deity? A sea god? A spirit of water? Or what else? Linziken's thoughts were racing. Boom! Suddenly, an explosive sound of something breaking the water surface echoed. Linziken instinctively looked towards the sound. He saw the hunched masked person bursting out of the sea, covered in wounds and blood, looking extremely disheveled. Yuan Dongji, you forced my hand. The moment the hunched masked person emerged from the sea, he yelled. Without any hesitation, he immediately sacrificed a great amount of chi blood to feed the exotic beast gene inside his body, boosting his strength through overactivation of the exotic beast gene. He didn't see Yuan Dongji nor sense his presence. But this did not prevent him from concluding that Yuan Dongji was attacking him. Because among all the people present, no one besides Yuan Dongji could control such a terrifying tidal wave. Now, he was going all out just like Yuan Dongji. Sacrificing a great amount of chi blood to overactivate the exotic beast gene inside his body. significantly increasing his strength. To dispose of Yuan Dongji as quickly as possible and take Lin Zikan back to the divine plant cult before military reinforcements arrived. Soon, the hunched masked person's body began to undergo a transformation. His hair and skin turned dark green. His limbs twisted into vines. And 4 blood vessel-laden fleshy wings grew out of his back. In just the blink of an eye, he mutated from a human into an ugly, giant wooden sprite. Whiz whiz whiz. Accompanied by a whistling sound. The hunched masked person's limbs stretched like rubber, turning into countless bizarre blood-red vines, shooting towards the sea surface below at lightning speed. Thud thud thud. A large number of vines shot into the sea, stirring up huge waves. The moment they hit the water, these vines turned into agile pythons, ensnaring all living creatures in their path on the seafloor, sucking their chi blood. The hunched masked person did not know exactly where Yuan Dongji was hiding. But he was certain that Yuan Dongji was concealed beneath this area of the sea. He planned to launch indiscriminate attacks on all creatures in this sea area, forcing the hidden Yuan Dongji to reveal himself. Today, he intended not only to take Lin Zikan, but to kill Yuan Dongji as well. On the other side, seeing the hunched masked person had gone mad, with human nature gradually being replaced by the beast within, Lin Zikan didn't dare to linger for another second and immediately tried to take Shen Qinghan far away from this area. However, he had only just moved to swim away. Chapter 292, 186. Water God. The 9th elder of the divine plant cult has fallen, _2. Next second, the entire sea surface suddenly surged violently. Right after that, a giant water arm composed of the sea water shot up from the depths of the sea, instantly. It spread its palm wide enough to cover the sky and the sun. With the force of a great mountain pressing down, it furiously slapped down on the hunchbacked masked person. Boom! The hunchbacked masked person had no time to react and was directly slapped into the seabed, setting off a deafening noise. The power of this slap was extremely terrifying. The residual waves, from hundreds of meters away, shook Lin Zikan and Shen Qinghan from the sea and threw them high into the sky. Just as the two were thrown to the highest point and about to start free-falling back into the sea, a giant water arm, composed of sea water, quickly shot up from below and gently caught the two with an outstretched palm as they were about to fall. Lin Zikan looked at the giant water arm below him, a rush of thoughts flooding his mind. It was also a giant arm. When facing the hunchbacked masked person, it fiercely slapped down. But when facing him and Shen Qinghan, it was as tender as if holding a precious jewel in its palm. Could it be this is Han Han's mysterious water-related superpower? Lin Zikan, feeling the giant water arm beneath him, thought of this possibility. Just then, Shen Qinghan suddenly moved closer to him, a bit frightened. Xiao Chen, what is this? Surrounding her body were numerous oddly shaped droplets of water. These droplets seemed to have life of their own, forming various symbols that looked like characters as they floated past her eyes. Seeing these water droplets lingering around her, Lin Zikan felt increasingly incredulous and quickly reassured her, "Don't be scared, this is probably a manifestation of that water-related superpower of yours." After saying this, he quickly asked, "Did you hear any strange sounds just now?" The strange sounds he referred to were those eerie murmurs Shen Qinghan had heard previously when she went into the sea. Shen Qinghan's eyes were still somewhat red. Tears glistened at the corners of her eyes. Upon Lin Zikan's questioning, she raised her hand to wipe away her tears and belatedly remembered, "Yes, I heard something about offending a god, divine punishment," and then suddenly the sea swelled up with towering waves. Offending a god? Divine punishment? Lin Zikan looked seriously at the very familiar Shen Qinghan and speculated, could you really be a mythical being like a water god or sea god? Shen Qinghan shook her head, "I don't know." Lin Zikan thought for a moment and asked, "Can you control this giant water arm?" Shen Qinghan shook her head again, "I can't." Lin Zikan fell into deep thought upon hearing this. This was the first time in his life he had encountered something so mysterious and unknown. Thump! Suddenly, a piece of the sea hundreds of meters away exploded with a splash that filled the sky. Linziken looked up. The scene that met his eyes was the hunchbacked masked person bursting out from the sea floor, with a face full of horror, frantically trying to flee the area beneath him. But just less than a second after he surfaced, another giant water arm rose up from the water beneath him and firmly grasped the fleeing hunchbacked masked person. As the fingers exerted force, the trapped hunchbacked masked person immediately showed a pained expression, coughed up fresh blood, and his life force rapidly drained away. Principal Yuan, don't kill me. I am of great value to use alive, more useful than dead. I know many secrets that are unknown to others. Feeling the approach of death, the hunchbacked masked person's face was covered with a look of terror, and his survival instinct made him desperately plead aloud. Linziken heard the pleading and knew that the hunchbacked masked person mistook Yuan Dongji for his attacker. Principal Yuan! Principal Yuan, do you know the truth about the death of your son and daughter in Origin Land? Spare my life, and I'll tell you the truth. The hunchbacked masked person continued to cough up blood while desperately yelling with an increasingly hoarse voice. But no matter how much he pleaded, there was never any response. Because Yuan Dongji wasn't there at all. At the moment, Yuan Dongji was still barely alive, floating in another part of the sea, waiting for the living dead slug Jean to repair her severely injured body. The truth about death. Hearing the hunchbacked masked person shout this, Linziken felt a stir in his heart. Could there be more to the story? Did Lu Chuanwu and Yuan Dongji's children die because of someone's foul play? At that moment, the gigantic arm holding the hunchbacked mask quickly moved over, stopping in front of Linziken. More precisely, it stopped in front of Shen Qinghan, who was beside him. The hunchbacked masked person had initially wanted to continue begging for mercy from Yuan Dongji, whose location was unknown. But the moment he opened his mouth, he saw the droplets of water swirling around Shen Qinghan, constantly changing shapes. Furthermore, considering Yuan Dongji had not appeared nor responded from the beginning to the end, he belatedly realized that those attacks he had suffered previously were not the handiwork of Yuan Dongji, but that of the girl before him. At this, his eyes widened in disbelief. You? It was you? Who exactly are you? Boom! Before the hunchbacked masked person could finish speaking, the gigantic hand gripping him suddenly exerted force, and in front of Linziken and Shen Qinghan, burst him into a mass of blood and water, staining much of the giant arm made of seawater red. Dead? Staring at the giant arm dyed red by fresh blood before him, Linziken was somewhat stunned for a moment. He hadn't expected that a powerful rare-level creature would suddenly fall like this, with no sign at all before its death. Splash! After killing the hunchbacked masked person, the giant arm stained with blood quickly dissipated into a rain of bean-sized droplets, falling into the water one after another. Linziken watched this scene unfold before him. It felt unreal. A rare-level creature had just died because of Shen Qinghan, powerless to retaliate. It was almost like a dream. Not long after, the giant arm supporting Linziken and Shen Qinghan also began to slowly turn into droplets and scattered back into the sea. The droplets revolving around Shen Qinghan also fell into the sea along with it. In just a few seconds, losing their buoyancy, the two quickly fell back into the sea, their faces showing a flicker of bewilderment as they looked at the calm and waveless sea surface in front of them. It was as if everything they had just experienced was all a dream. Linziken didn't remain stunned for long. Seeing the blood water in front of him growing fainter, survival of the fittest started throbbing non-stop, urging him to absorb the blood water rich with the essence of life. After coming to his senses, he quickly swam towards the blood-stained water of the hunchbacked masked person, then deftly thought to himself, absorb. The next second, 4 notification messages popped up in the void. You have absorbed a large amount of the life essence of Wood Elf. Forest Lord strength plus 87%. You have absorbed a large amount of the life essence of 9-turn soul worm. Advanced spirit strength plus 99%. Linziken glanced at the content, feeling somewhat disappointed. A rare level fighter had only fused 2 exotic beast genes, wasn't that a bit too meager? As he was thinking this, a high energy mass was rapidly approaching from 1,000 meters away in that body of water. This mass of energy was familiar. It was Yuan Dongji. A few seconds later, Yuan Dongji, her body covered in dragon scales, burst out of the water in front of the two. Her condition was not good, her body riddled with horrifying wounds. The living dead slug gene had the ability to heal various injuries, but the premise was that there was enough energy inside the body to enable it to work. And Yuan Dongji, at the moment, clearly didn't have sufficient energy within her body to heal her wounds. Is the 9th elder of the divine plant cult not here? While Yuan Dongji spread her spiritual power to sense the surroundings, she asked with a voice slightly weak. Without a second thought, Linziken immediately responded, I don't know, I haven't seen him. Yuan Dongji was not an outsider. But he still chose to keep Shen Qinghan's secret. About the death of the hunchbacked masked person, he told no one, trusted no one. Yuan Dongji didn't ask any further. Seeing that the two of them were fine, she breathed a sigh of relief. Where the hunchbacked masked person was, didn't matter. What mattered was that the 2 top talents before her were unharmed. With that thought, Yuan Dongji wasted no time, immediately concentrated her thoughts, lifting the 2 out of the water from afar, and swiftly evacuated them from the coastal forest. P.S. I'm pleading here, asking for your monthly tickets and recommendation votes. Chapter 293, 187. Origin Land Fox Woman. Cultivation Cauldron. Within moments, Yuan Dongji had taken Linziken and Shen Qinghan away from the coastal forest. They arrived at a hill that was higher and not submerged by seawater. After setting the 2 of them down, Yuan Dongji immediately had a thought and conjured several blades of water to cut down all the plants within 100 meters, creating a large clearing. This was to facilitate the prompt detection of the area by the real reinforcements from the military district when they arrived. You 2 stay here and don't wander off. I'll go look for the others. Yuan Dongji said, leaving them with these words. With a light tap of his toes, he instantly soared 100 meters into the air, flying back towards the coastal forest to search for the scattered special trainees. Watching Yuan Dongji fly further and further away, Linziken couldn't help but feel a sense of yearning. There are 3 types of people capable of flight. First, mechanically modified humans equipped with anti-airflow propulsion devices. Second, genetic integrators who have grown wings. Third, anyone with spiritual power strong enough to be considered rare level. For Linziken to achieve flight, he could only become the 3rd type of person, pushing his spiritual power to reach the rare level. With the reinforcement from the law of the jungle, he felt that this day would come very soon. In the future, he just needed to consume more exotic beast meat related to spiritual power. As Yuan Dongji gradually flew away, Linziken soon withdrew his gaze. Looking around, he spotted a large, flat stone in front of him. So, he said to Shen Qinghan beside him, let's go sit over there. I'll use blood chi power to help dry your clothes and hair. Okay. Shen Qinghan agreed with a voice, and the 2 walked over to the stone and sat down. Linziken skillfully released blood chi power to dry Shen Qinghan's hair and the clothes she was wearing. Take off your shoes and socks too, I'll help dry them. You help me take them off. Shen Qinghan extended her foot onto Linziken's leg, her voice sounding a bit coquettish. Linziken helped remove her shoes and socks, revealing a pair of delicate and fair feet. Her toes were plump like grapes, small and lovely. The bottom of her feet was pinkish white, revealing a healthy complexion exclusive to young girls. The skin was tender and smooth, very pleasant to the touch. The whole foot was graspable and particularly tempting. Without lingering on these tempting little feet, Lin Zikin picked up the shoes and socks and silently used blood chi power to dry them. Xiao Chen, my feet feel damp, dry them for me. As the shoes and socks became dry, Shen Qinghan stretched her foot towards Lin Zikin's hand. Without a word, Lin Zikin picked up her foot and released blood chi power to dry the moisture on it. It feels so warm and comfortable. Shen Qinghan's face beamed with pleasure. With her peach blossom eyes that still showed traces of tears, she spoke sweetly to Lin Zikin, Xiao Chen, will you warm my feet for me from now on? Lin Zikin smiled warmly, I will warm your feet every night before bed. Shen Qinghan felt very sweet inside, temporarily forgetting the day's negative emotions. Her mood gradually relaxed. No longer as heavy and oppressive. When Lin Zikin had almost been taken away by the hunched masked man from the divine plant cult, she had truly been terrified. Her heart was filled with fear and despair. Ever since she could remember, Lin Zikin had always been in her world, they had never been apart for a day. She found it hard to imagine how she would live without him. To say something very weak, she probably wouldn't be able to carry on. Fortunately, Lin Zikin had not been taken away by the hunched masked man in the end, and he was still by her side to continue accompanying her. Xiao Chen. Shen Qinghan, with her eyes shining with moisture, looked at Lin Zikin and said, how do you externalize your blood chi power? Teach me, so I can help warm your body before sleep. As Lin Zikin continued to warm her feet with his hand, emanating strands of blood chi power, he explained. It's easy to externalize blood chi power. There's no particular technique to speak of, it mostly depends on the strength of your blood chi. Your blood chi is too weak right now, only at the strength of a common 6th order. It's difficult to externalize. When it reaches the advanced 1st rank, it will naturally be able to externalize. It needs to be that high. Shen Qinghan felt a bit distressed. Currently, she was only at the common 6th order, 4 ranks away from advanced 1st rank. How long would it take for her to improve her blood chi strength to that level, so she could learn to externalize her blood chi power and warm Lin Zikin's body? 1 year? 2 years? Or even 2.5 years? Definitely, it wouldn't be a short time. It seemed that until her blood chi strength improved to advanced 1st rank, she could only repay Lin Zikin using the old method they used every day. Using the temperature difference between their internal and external bodies to warm him. To make him comfortable. To do a favor in return. More than 10 minutes later, Yuan Dongji returned with everyone in tow. One could say that the efficiency of a rare-level fighter's work was indeed high. Lin Zikin glanced at the people who had returned. He saw that several were injured. But they were only minor injuries, nothing serious. They must have been hurt during the previous tsunami. As Lin Zikin's gaze fell upon them, many avoided eye contact, feeling embarrassed to look him in the eye. When they were attacked by the fox-eared girl earlier, all of them had not hesitated to leave Lin Zikin behind, and now they felt awkward even looking at him. Though in that situation, to help was a matter of kindness, not to help was part of their duty, there was no obligation to do so. But even though that's said, it's still hard to get over the emotional barrier. Now when they saw Lin Zikin again, they felt this embarrassment. Ziai Chen, how did you manage to escape from that fox-eared girl? The severely injured Zhang Kai, who had lost a titanium mechanical leg, hobbled forward and curiously asked. He had not immediately abandoned Lin Zikin during the attack by the fox-eared girl. Chapter 294, 187. Origin Land Fox Woman. Cultivation Cauldron, _2. Only after Lin Zikin asked him to leave did he reluctantly make the rational choice to abandon Lin Zikin, prioritizing his own safety. Therefore, he didn't feel embarrassed to face Lin Zikin like the others did. When he asked this question, everyone else was all ears. They were also very curious about how Lin Zikin managed to escape from the fox-eared girl's grasp. After all, that fox-eared girl was so powerful that she had taken control of the instructor, Lu Tianrong, in an instant, terrifyingly strong. In the face of everyone's curiosity, Lin Zikin calmly said, "I didn't escape, I drove her off." "Hey? Drove her off?" Hearing this answer, those who didn't know the full story all widened their eyes with disbelief. The fox-eared girl who could instantly control Liu Tianrong, whose biological level was as high as an advanced 6th order, was driven off by you, an ordinary individual? What a joke! Zhang Kai asked curiously, "How did you drive the fox-eared girl off?" Before Lin Zikin could explain, Liu Tianrong approached from nearby and said, "That fox-eared girl's physique isn't strong, she just has outstanding spiritual power. At the beginning, when she was controlling me, she consumed too much spiritual power, which caused her strength to decline significantly. Then, Lin Zikin drove her off by taking advantage of his superior physical strength." The crowd listened and suddenly understood. So that's how it was. No wonder Lin Zikin was able to drive off the fox-eared girl. It turned out the fox-eared girl had run out of mana. A mage without mana is just like a gunwoman without her gun. Any healthy adult male could lethally strike her down with a physical advantage. On the other hand, Yuan Dongji found Liu Tianrong's explanation somewhat amusing after she heard it. She had seen the entire process of Lin Zikin's battle with the fox-eared girl. She knew that at that time, the fox-eared girl was full of spirit and had hardly expended any at all. Her inability to defeat Lin Zikin was purely because her spiritual power couldn't create a gap between them and Lin Zikin. About half an hour passed. Over the hills, a large military aircraft appeared. It was the true reinforcements from the military district. Moreover, it was the female officer Yao Heling who personally led the team. Seeing this, everyone breathed a sigh of relief. They were finally saved. The day's disaster was finally coming to an end. They could go home now. Soon, the aircraft's hatch opened. Yao Heling alighted with several mechanically modified humans and landed on the hill. "Commander Yao." Liu Tianrong greeted her respectfully. Yao Heling nodded her head without speaking and went straight to Yuan Dongji, asking, "Dongji, why has your mutation become so severe?" She was feigning ignorance, showing her concern for Yuan Dongji. Yuan Dongji said in a cool voice, "The military district's support arrived too late, and there was a traitor who opened Shanghai number to join the 9th elder of the divine plant cult against me, forcing me to excessively activate the exotic beast gene in my body in order to take on both of them." This statement seemed to describe the situation, but in reality, it was an expression of dissatisfaction. The headquarters of Nanjiang Province's military district had invited so many talents to the special training camp, but they couldn't even guarantee the safety of the trainees. It was sheer incompetence. Incompetence to the point of being incomprehensible, leading to disappointment and anger. Yao Heling pretended not to notice Yuan Dongji's dissatisfaction and quickly took out a vial of the antidote, handing it over with an apologetic face. "This is the military district's newly developed top-grade anti-mutation reagent, its effect is 10 times that of those available on the market. You look to be in a bad state now, you should inject one immediately." "I feel okay for now, I can inject it after returning." Yuan Dongji took the reagent and coldly stored it in her bosom. Yao Heling said nothing and quickly began organizing everyone to board the plane and leave to return to the military district. After boarding the aircraft, Yao Heling and Yuan Dongji sat in a partition close to 30 square meters in size, drinking hot tea brewed with spirit fruits, as they discussed matters in a serious mood. Yuan Dongji briefly recounted what had happened earlier in the coastal forest. She mentioned that the Shanghai number mech self-destructed, the 9th elder of the divine plant cult had disappeared without a trace, and the remaining heretics were all buried at the bottom of the sea. Additionally, she brought up the fox-eared girl who had attacked Lin Zikin. "Has a vulpine woman appeared?" Yao Heling's brows furrowed, and her expression became grave. Vulpine women are intelligent creatures from the origin land, their appearance on Earth means that there is a new biological channel, one beyond our monitoring. Previously, it was only suspected that a new biological channel had emerged. Now, there is no need for suspicion, the evidence is concrete. Thinking this, Yao Heling pondered, Vulpine women usually stay neutral, guarding their own territory and rarely interfacing with outsiders. How did one suddenly come to Earth uninvited? Yuan Dongji replied, she came looking for a cultivation cauldron. Yao Heling became even more puzzled, she came to Earth to find a cultivation cauldron. In the origin land, geniuses, both in number and quality, far surpass those on Earth. Why would a Vulpine woman specifically come to Earth to find a cultivation cauldron? Are heretic beings not attractive? Or are various intelligent creatures favored by the heavens not strong enough? This made no sense. Yuan Dongji said indifferently, I also find it strange, but that Vulpine woman genuinely came to Earth to find a cultivation cauldron, and she has taken a liking to Lin Zikan. Yao Heling was still puzzled. Although Lin Zikan is highly talented, there are countless more talented geniuses in the origin land. I can't understand why a Vulpine woman, popular there, would take an interest in him. Could it be that she was swayed by Lin Zikan's handsome looks and took a fancy to him? That's not it, it's not a whimsical fancy. She deliberately came from the origin land to Earth to find a cultivation cauldron. Even if she hadn't encountered Lin Zikan, she would have looked for another man on Earth. So what's the real reason behind this? Yao Heling was baffled and became increasingly puzzled the more she thought about it. Yuan Dongji guessed, maybe she just wanted to try something new. Can you even try something new with this? After saying this, Yao Heling continued, there's only one original yin, and once it's gone, it's gone. It doesn't seem likely that a Vulpine woman would give hers away just for a taste of something new. Yuan Dongji disagreed, hard to say, the world is full of wonders, perhaps some Vulpine women don't care about their original yin and like to seek novelty. That's what she said, but in her heart, she thought differently. In terms of chi blood, Lin Zikan was capable of killing, without any injury, a heavily wounded higher 6th order adversary with just an ordinary 9th rank body. Regarding spiritual power, Lin Zikan could resist the illusion technique attacks of a same-rank Vulpine woman. Such astonishing talent was elite even in the origin land. Plus, his looks were exceptionally good. It was completely normal for the Vulpine girl to fancy him and to choose him as her cultivation cauldron. As for why the Vulpine girl came to Earth, Yuan Dongji guessed that she did not specifically come to Earth to look for a cauldron but was driven by curiosity to experience Earth for herself. Then, during the process of satisfying her curiosity, she learned about Lin Zikan from the divine plant cult and thought he suited her, was to her liking, and casually chose him as her cultivation cauldron. Yuan Dongji's speculation was quite logical. But unfortunately, she was wrong. Because the Vulpine girl had indeed come to Earth specifically to find a cultivation cauldron. Her father was an Earthling, who, after deceiving her mother for money and pleasure and impregnating her, vanished without a trace, never to be heard from again. Yet even so, her mother harbored an unfading obsession with her father, refusing other male creatures despite being manipulated emotionally and abandoned. He was irreplaceable. Her mother would even tell her daily how wonderful her father, who left at the drop of a hat, was. Although irresponsible, he was indeed very charming. Under her mother's influence, she grew up curious about Earthmen. She thought about finding an Earthman as her cultivation cauldron in the future to see what was so good about them that made her mother constantly pine for him. How is the military area now? After discussing the topic of the Vulpine woman, Yuan Dongji shifted the conversation to this matter. Yao Heling took a sip of tea and smiled. Completely suppressed. Including those you dealt with, a total of 47 heretics embedded for years have been rooted out. It's almost a complete purge of the heretics within the entire military area, a vast haul. A vast haul? Yuan Dongji thought this phrase sounded odd. Seeing the smile that remained on Yao Heling's face, she keenly sensed something off. Her face suddenly turned cold as she said, "Don't tell me that this military training exercise was a setup by the military area to cleanse the heretics, using the trainees as bait for a fishing law enforcement operation." The female officer's face subtly changed upon hearing this, but it was fleeting, and she quickly furrowed her brows and said, "You can eat messy, but you must not talk nonsense." Yuan Dongji's face remained stern, her voice icy and unemotional. "Yao Heling, I hope I've misunderstood today's event, otherwise, I will not let you off the hook. P.S. Asking for monthly and recommendation tickets." Chapter 295, 188. Relying on the mountains. No more hiding clumsiness. Decide to show the real strength. Military aircraft are incredibly fast, and it wasn't long before they arrived at the military district and landed. Apart from the 5 special trainees from the military district, the other trainees got off the plane and went back to the dormitory to pack their bags, ready to head back home today. The special training camp had experienced such a serious mishap that it could no longer continue and had to be prematurely ended. After packing his bags, Lin Zikan and Shen Qinghan made their way toward the airport. They had arrived by military helicopter, and they would return the same way. The two were descending the stairs and were about to reach the ground floor when they encountered Shang Guanyueying, who was going up the stairs. Seeing the two of them carrying luggage, Shang Guanyueying smiled and said, "You just got off the plane not long ago, and you've already finished packing your bags so quickly." Lin Zikan smiled and replied, "The sooner we pack, the sooner we can go back." Indeed. As she spoke, Shang Guanyueying took out her phone from her pocket and said with a smile, "It's fate that we could participate in the military district's special training together and even be assigned to the same team during the enrollment assessment. Why don't we add each other on WeChat?" "Sure." Shen Qinghan was happy to do so, taking out her phone to add Shang Guanyueying on WeChat. After adding Shen Qinghan, Shang Guanyueying looked at Lin Zikan with a sweet smile and said, "Let's also add each other as friends." Lin Zikan politely declined with a smile, "I barely post updates on my moments and seldom look at WeChat. If you need to find me, you can just contact Han Han, as she and I are almost always together." "That's fine too." Shang Guanyueying smiled, feeling a bit disappointed inside. It didn't matter whether she added Shen Qinghan or not, but she truly wanted to add Lin Zikan. She had never seen such a handsome top-tier genius growing up. She wanted to add Lin Zikan on WeChat, to see if there was any chance he'd become single. The moment he did, she planned to make her move to win him over immediately. Unfortunately, now she couldn't even add him on WeChat, which left her without even the chance to chat, making her feel a bit upset. After a brief chat, Lin Zikan and Shen Qinghan left the dormitory building quickly and walked toward the airport. Upon arriving at the airport, they found the respective military helicopter. The two efficiently boarded, stowing their luggage cases properly. It wasn't long before Li Moyu and the others arrived. Once everyone was assembled, the military helicopter steadily ascended into the sky and flew towards Shanghai University. About 2 hours later, the military helicopter reached Shanghai University, hovering over the rooftop of the administrative building. Yuan Dongji took a moment, escorting the 5 students down from the helicopter. They floated gently to the ground. After getting off the helicopter, Li Moyu and Luo Yongjian didn't linger, pulling their luggage and heading toward the school gate. It was still winter break, and both of them were staying at home. They had already contacted their families to pick them up from the school while they were still in the military district. Their families were waiting at the school's entrance now. Ma Ziwei also quickly departed, as her home was in the school and it was only a short walk away. As for Lin Zikan and Shen Qinghan, they were taken to the principal's office by Yuan Dongji, who said she needed to talk to Lin Zikan. Inside the principal's office, Lin Zikan and Shen Qinghan sat on the sofa in front of the tea table, the former looking at his phone, while the latter carefully brewed tea. Yuan Dongji took out the special anti-exoticization reagent provided by Yao Heling and set it down at her desk. Then she injected herself with a standard anti-exoticization reagent. As the reagent was administered, Yuan Dongji's physical condition visibly improved at a noticeable rate. After a short pause, Yuan Dongji got up, sat down opposite Lin Zikan, and said, "When you showed overwhelming talent during the enrollment assessment, I knew the people from the Divine Plant Cult would definitely make a move against you. So, when you boarded the military bus for the field training, I followed in secret." After saying this, Yuan Dongji picked up a cup of tea Shen Qinghan had poured and took a small sip. She continued, "Even though I guessed that the Divine Plant Cult's agents would likely target you, I didn't inform anyone in the military district to follow and protect you in secret. Do you know why?" Lin Zikan thought for a moment and said, "Because there are traitors in the military district who can't be trusted." "You're right," Yuan Dongji said with a look of approval. She soon put down her teacup, her expression growing serious. "The traitors on Earth are much more numerous than you imagine. Most of these traitors, when they're not on a mission, look just like ordinary people. They could be your teachers, your close friends, or even your lovers. Those who can infiltrate human society for many years without being exposed typically only have one task to fulfill in their lifetime. Until that task needs to be completed, they are good people. Only when it's time to fulfill their mission will they show their true colors. It's like that Deputy Commander Chen from the military district. If the Divine Plant Cult hadn't planned to capture you, he might never have been exposed. What I'm trying to tell you is, when you face danger, never blindly trust anyone around you." Lin Zikan nodded, "I understand, thank you, Principal Yuan, for the reminder." He wasn't worried in the slightest about Yuan Dongji's warning. With his danger perception, he could clearly sense the malevolence of other living beings, so the likelihood of being stabbed in the back by someone close to him was slim. "By the way, Principal Yuan, what exactly is the Divine Plant Cult?" Lin Zikan asked curiously. In just half a year, he had been attacked by the Divine Plant Cult twice. This was not something he could ignore. Yuan Dongji spoke unhurriedly, "The Divine Plant Cult is currently the oldest known heretical sect, existing even before exotic beasts appeared." Chapter 296, 188. Relying on the mountains. No more hiding clumsiness. Decided to show the real strength, _2. To be more accurate, the reason why exotic beasts appear on Earth is all because of the Divine Plant Cult's doing. It's the Divine Plant Cult that uses special means to connect Earth with the origin land, regularly transporting exotic beasts from the origin land to Earth. As for the purpose of transporting these exotic beasts, it's still unknown. Not only do we not know, but many high-ranking elders of the Divine Plant Cult themselves are also unaware. Almost no one knows why the Divine Plant Cult would do such a thing. Additionally, many of the smaller heretical sects were basically supported and raised by the Divine Plant Cult. For example, the Rat God cult that suddenly appeared in Shanghai City a few years ago. You and King Han are both locals from Shanghai, so you should be familiar with the Rat God cult. My understanding of the Divine Plant Cult is about this much. I'm not too clear on anything beyond that." After listening to Yuan Dongji's introduction to the Divine Plant Cult, Lin Zikan was very surprised. He had always thought the Divine Plant Cult was just a slightly larger heretical sect. It was unexpected that the Divine Plant Cult was actually the oldest heretical sect on Earth and the big brother of other heretical sects. This was indeed a bit surprising. "Principal Yuan, do you know what biological level the ninth elder of the Divine Plant Cult has?" Lin Zikan thought back to the hunched individual in the mask who had tried to capture him in the coastal forest and was curious about this person's biological level. That was the strongest enemy he had ever faced. If it hadn't been for the boost from various biometric attributes like confluence of waters, nature's camouflage, advanced spirit, forest lord, as well as Shen Qinghan's mysterious water-based superpower, he would have been taken by the masked figure back to the Divine Plant Cult by now. Yuan Dongji picked up her teacup and took a sip, her voice completely composed as she said, "Regarding the biological level of the ninth elder of the Divine Plant Cult, I don't know. For high-ranking fighters, their biological level is an extremely private secret. Unless the person themselves disclose it, it's very difficult for others to know. It can only be judged through combat. Or, a few powerful individuals with special probing methods might be able to find out. Yuan Dongji put down her teacup and said, "My biological level is at Rare Tier 3, you can use my encounter with him as a reference." Rare Tier 3, huh? That's really high. Thank goodness the divine plant cult wanted to capture me rather than kill me. Otherwise, I probably would have been done for by now. Lin Zikan felt a chill run down his spine. At that moment, Yuan Dongji across from him cautioned, "Regarding my biological level, it's best that the two of you keep it to yourselves and not spread it around, understood?" Shen Qinghan nodded obediently, I understand, Master." Lin Zikan, "Don't worry, Principal Yuan, I won't tell a soul." Yuan Dongji picked up her teacup, finishing the last half of the tea inside. Then she turned to Lin Zikan, and slowly began the night's main topic. "Zi Chen, I saw the whole process of you single-handedly killing a high-level 6th order fighter without a scratch. I was intending to step in and help you, but then you just killed him outright. I was truly shocked by you at that moment. To think that with the body of an ordinary 9th rank, you single-handedly killed a high-level 6th order fighter without injury, the world must be going mad." While saying this, disbelief was written all over Yuan Dongji's face. She had been a teacher at Shan University for decades and had never seen such a talented genius with such exaggerated abilities. The most talented student in the history of Shan University only had the strength comparable to a high-level 5th rank by the time of their senior year graduation. And Lin Zikan, while still in his freshman year, was able to single-handedly kill a high-level 6th order fighter without injury. It was simply unbelievable. Lin Zikan had guessed that Yuan Dongji might have witnessed his battle with the masked man. But still, as Yuan Dongji said it outright, his heart skipped a beat. The strength he had hidden for so long had been exposed. Thinking this, he corrected her, "Principal Yuan, it wasn't high-level 6th order, the man was severely injured, and his strength had fallen to just a high-level 4th rank." Yuan Dongji was somewhat impressed. "You're really too cautious for your own good, always afraid that others will realize how strong you are, always hiding your skills." Lin Zikan explained, "Principal Yuan, I really wasn't hiding anything this time, the man's level after being injured was just high-level 4th rank. Plus, there was an element of surprise attack. Strictly speaking, my strength is at most equivalent to a high-level 3rd rank." He could accept being underestimated, but being overestimated was something he couldn't abide by. Being underestimated allowed him to launch surprise attacks. Conversely, being overestimated could bring about disaster. Just like the attack by the divine plant cult. It was because the masked man underestimated his strength that he was able to ambush and take him down without injury. If the masked man overestimated his strength and went all out from the start, he probably wouldn't have stood a chance. Yuan Dongji said indifferently, "I know you don't have the strength of a high-level 6th rank, and when I say you're hiding your skills, I'm referring to your usual performance. Actually, hiding one's skills is a good habit, but that's for the powerful. As for you, you're still a student, in the fastest stage of evolution, in dire need of acquiring evolution resources to accelerate your growth. Hiding your skills excessively will only result in fewer resources for evolution and slow down your pace of evolution." Yuan Dongji continued, "Of course, I understand why you hide your skills. It's simply a lack of security, worrying about being targeted by those with ulterior motives. But on the other hand, if you show enough talent, you can also get greater protection. Worrying about being targeted by those with ulterior motives is somewhat overthinking it. I can't guarantee for other countries, but here in Zhuzhou, the protection for geniuses is the greatest in the world." Listening to Yuan Dongji, Lin Zikan couldn't help but laugh to himself. The greatest protection for geniuses in the world? I was just attacked by the divine plant cult, and it happened while I was participating in a military special training. Is this what you call the greatest in the world? Honestly, it's a bit of a joke. Yuan Dongji was unaware of Lin Zikan's inner mockery and continued, as a citizen of Zhuzhou, you can freely showcase your skills without too many concerns. In your current situation, whether you show your moves or not isn't important anymore. Based on your performance in the special training camp and the divine plant cult's level of interest in you, it's likely you'll soon draw the attention of the higher UPS in our country. It shouldn't take long before some influential figures will come to find you. Yuan Dongji then said, the big shots in our country like to place their bets. When the time comes and a big shot comes looking for you, you can use that as an opportunity to find a powerful backer. Make sure to show your strong talent without reservation to win favor from influential figures, to gain greater protection and more evolution resources. Concerned that Lin Zikin might have reservations, Yuan Dongji added with emphasis, Ziai Chen, you've already been targeted by the divine plant cult. Hiding your skills has lost its meaning. Take my advice, show your talent and find a strong backer. It's the right choice. Lin Zikin nodded, I know what to do. He thought Yuan Dongji was right. He was already being targeted by the divine plant cult, so whether he hid his abilities or not wouldn't change the fact that he might be attacked by heretics in the future. Rather than that, it would be better to show his talent openly to seek protection and resources. Of course, he couldn't show everything. Just demonstrating his chi blood and spirit strength would be enough. It's best not to show his biometric attributes. Especially survival of the fittest. The effects of this biometric attribute were too advanced and could bring about a deadly disaster. Not just from the heretics, but it might also come from up high. The innocent are blameless, it is the possession of the jade that brings guilt, a truth that never changes. Thinking this, Lin Zikin looked at Yuan Dongji with some curiosity. Principal Yuan, the influential figures you mentioned placing their bets, how influential are they? Yuan Dongji's response was as calm as a still well, the most powerful figures in Zhuzhou country, legendary level strong persons. Legendary level strong persons? Lin Zikin was surprised by this, and an anticipation began to stir within him. So far, the strongest people he had encountered in real life were Yuan Dongji and the hunchbacked masked man. Both were rare-level fighters. The former could control the seas, and the latter could control the forests. They were akin to terrestrial immortals from myths and legends. Stronger than them were the epic-level powerhouses, who could withstand nuclear bombs. So how exaggerated must the existence of legendary-level strong persons be? P.S. Begging for monthly and recommendation tickets. Chapter 297, 189, I'm pregnant. Hope it's a daughter. Xiao Chen spent over an hour in Yuan Dongji's office, discussing a lot about the divine plant cult and significant domestic figures. It was almost 10 p.m. when he and Shen Qinghan, each dragging their luggage, headed home. The campus was quiet and serene during winter break at 10 at night. Walking along the campus roads, there were hardly any students to be seen. The only thing present was the intermittent evening breeze. It brought a slight chill when it brushed across the face, which felt rather pleasant. Xiao Chen, the school is so quiet, nothing like its usual bustle, Shen Qinghan remarked. It's normal, it's still winter break, and students have gone home for the new year, Xiao Chen replied. If it were summer vacation, many students might choose to stay on campus to study or take on tasks for credits. But during winter break, which was shorter and included the spring festival, very few students stayed. Xiao Chen, I've slept by myself during this half-month of special training, and it feels so unfamiliar. Can I sleep over at your place tonight? Shen Qinghan asked. Then come over and sleep at mine, Xiao Chen said. That's settled then. After I've eaten and taken a bath at home, I'll head your way, Shen Qinghan declared. All right, before bedtime, I'll release my blood chi power to warm your feet, Xiao Chen offered. As they continued their conversation, they strolled leisurely, soon arriving at their respective homes. Xiao Chen took out his keys to open the door and entered the house, dragging his luggage in. All the lights in the house were off. Only the writing room was lit. Standing in the entrance hallway, he could clearly hear the sounds of keyboard typing from the writing room. Despite having a son so capable that the family had no shortage of money, the couple was still writing novels late into the night as before. It could only be described as true passion. He changed into slippers. He wheeled his luggage into his room and put it away. Xiao Chen approached the door of the writing room and gently knocked. "Dad, Mom, I'm back." Lin Yunshen's puzzled voice came from the writing room. "Eh? Is the son back?" Immediately afterward, the door opened, and Lin Yanzheng and Zhang Wangzhen walked out. Seeing the Xiao Chen standing at the door, Lin Yanzheng asked in bewilderment, "Didn't you say you were going for a month of special training? How come you're back in just half a month?" Xiao Chen replied, "The special training finished early." Upon hearing this, Lin Yanzheng immediately frowned. "Did something happen?" "No, nothing like that. This batch of trainees was quite outstanding, and they reached the training goals early, so we came back ahead of schedule," Xiao Chen explained, giving the reason he had thought up beforehand. Lin Yanzheng looked surprised. "There's such a practice." Zhang Wangzhen, on the other hand, wasn't as curious. Her concern was apparent. She said to Xiao Chen, "How could you come back early without calling home? I could have prepared something delicious for you." "I mainly wanted to surprise you guys," Xiao Chen admitted. "More like a scare," Zhang Wangzhen complained without much temper. "Coming back without a sound in the middle of the night, someone might have thought there was a burglar." "Mom, you're thinking too much. You live in the faculty residence at Shanghai University, where security is tight. Even if the burglars could fly, they couldn't get into our home," Xiao Chen joked. "It's so late, you haven't had dinner yet, have you? What do you want to eat?" "I'll go make it now," Zhang Wangzhen offered. "Just stir-fried rice vermicelli is fine," Xiao Chen responded. "How can you only eat stir-fried vermicelli? You should eat well at home," Zhang Wangzhen insisted before heading to the refrigerator, saying, "How about this, I'll make you a cucumber salad, tomato and egg stir-fry, soy sauce chicken, and bitter melon soup with dragon bones. And steam some exotic beast meat as well," Xiao Chen added. "President Liu from your research institute brought us several pounds of ice crystal shrimp yesterday, which are currently frozen in the fridge, just right for steaming for you to eat now," Zhang Wangzhen said. These were dishes that Xiao Chen usually enjoyed. Luckily, the ingredients were available in the fridge. By almost 11 p.m., dinner was ready. 4 dishes and 1 soup. The family of 3 sat together to eat. The couple, having already had dinner, treated the meal as a late-night snack. "Here, try this ice crystal shrimp," Zhang Wangzhen said while placing a shrimp in Xiao Chen's bowl, looking affectionately. "Don't be fooled by it being frozen, it still tastes fresh and even sweeter than regular live shrimp." "Thanks, Mom," Xiao Chen appreciated. "By the way, Han Han hasn't eaten yet, either. Go call her over to join us," Zhang Wangzhen suggested. "No need, Mom, she's eating at her place right now. She sent me a bunch of food photos on WeChat. She also made a big dish of ice crystal shrimp and told me to come over and eat with her," Xiao Chen explained while eating his shrimp. Lin Yanzheng, peeling his own shrimp, said leisurely, "Wangzhen, don't keep inviting Han Han over here. She has her own parents too. You always coax her to come here, but Su Meng and Shen Jianyi are definitely not going to be happy about it. Especially now, right after she's gotten home. Su Meng and Shen Jianyi must be missing her terribly after half a month without her. If you were to call her over now, they might want to give you a piece of their minds." "Yes, I hadn't thought that through," Zhang Wangzhen admitted, rarely acknowledging that her husband had a point. After all, no matter how much she treated Han Han like her own daughter, she wasn't her actual mother, her best friend Su Meng was. Constantly summoning Han Han to their home, she indeed had been neglecting the feelings of Shen Jianyi and Su Meng. Well, she'd have to be more considerate in the future. As Zhang Wangzhen reflected, she put another ice shrimp in Xiao Chen's bowl and cheerfully announced, "Xiao Chen, Mom has some great news to tell you." "What good news?" "You're going to have a little brother or sister." "What?" Xiao Chen was momentarily stunned, taking a bit of time to process the news. Chapter 298, 189, I'm pregnant. Hope it's a daughter, _2. Do you want a brother or sister? Is Mom pregnant with the second child? He, having realized what was happening, looked immediately towards Zhang Wangzhen's belly. It was very flat, there was no visible sign of pregnancy. Maybe it's because she just got pregnant not long ago, and it's not showing yet. "Mom, are you pregnant with the second child?" "Yes, it's been almost half a month. I just found out a few days ago." As Zhang Wangzhen spoke, she gently rubbed her still flat belly with an expression of anticipation. "We already have a little man at home, hoping this time it's a little cotton-padded jacket." She actually was pregnant with the second child. Lin Zikan felt it was so sudden, even more so than when Shen Qinghan announced her pregnancy. After all, Zhang Wangzhen was in her 40s, and in a few years, she would be old enough to be a grandmother. This unexpected second pregnancy was truly surprising. By the time the child is born, Lin Zikan would be 20 years old. With such a big age difference, he could be a father himself. Lin Yanzheng took a sip of soup and casually said, "Ever since you and Han Han went to college, the house has been too quiet, and your mom and I are not used to it. Thinking of holding a grandchild feels like it's so far in the future. So your mom and I agreed on the spot. While we're still in our early 40s and there's still a possibility, we thought we'd try for a second child. Then, after trying for about 2.5 months, we finally succeeded in getting pregnant." "I see." Lin Zikan nodded, indifferent to his parents having a second child. As long as the parents are happy, it doesn't matter if it's a second child, or a third, fourth, or fifth. The family isn't short on money, and the parents don't need to run around working to support the family, they can afford to raise any number of children. Having children around to liven up the house is quite nice. At 11:45 p.m. Lin Zikan finished dinner, took a shower, and sat leisurely on the bed browsing news on his phone. Not long after, Shen Qinghan, who had also finished dining and showering and was dressed in a set of light pink pajamas, came to join him for sleep. "Xiao Chen, Aunt Xin is actually pregnant with a second child." Shen Qinghan took off her slippers, sat on the bed, and shared the surprising news with Lin Zikan. Lin Zikan laughed, "My parents are so eager to hold a grandchild they couldn't wait for the two of us, so they took matters into their own hands." Shen Qinghan asked curiously, "Xiao Chen, do you want a sister or a brother?" "I'm fine with either, but my parents especially want a daughter." "It's natural for Uncle Lin and Aunt Xin to want a daughter since they already have you as a son, they certainly want to try different parenting experiences with a little girl." After finishing, Shen Qinghan inquired, "Xiao Chen, when we get married in the future, should we have a son or a daughter first?" Lin Zikan, "Just have twins directly, a pair of dragon and phoenix for both son and daughter." "Which should come first, the son or the daughter?" Shen Qinghan felt torn. "I feel a combination of an older brother and younger sister is very loving, but I also think an older sister and younger brother pairing is quite nice, it's really hard to decide. What's more, choosing names for a son and a daughter, there's really so much to think about. Especially taking care of a baby, I think that seems hard. Thinking back to when I was a baby, constantly wetting my pants, my mom said it was really troublesome to take care of. Even when you were not a baby, you still frequently wet your pants. You annoying thing, you're asking for a beating." Shen Qinghan very angrily hit Lin Zikan as punishment for his malicious slander. Then she muttered, "When Aunt Xin gives birth to the baby at the end of the year, I'll go learn a bit, practice in advance how to be a mom." She was thinking a bit too far ahead. She was only in her freshman year of university, yet she was already thinking about motherhood. Lin Zikin smiled and said, "There's no need to go out of your way to practice when you become a mom, you'll find that you'll hardly get to take care of the child, as my parents and yours will be scrambling to take care of it." "Really?" Shen Qinghan was skeptical. "Lin Zikin, don't doubt the desire of a couple to hold a grandchild, especially in our one-child families. Once the parents get older and retire with nothing to do, they'll become obsessed with the idea of a grandchild." "Is that so?" Shen Qinghan hadn't felt it much herself because Shen Jianyi and Su Meng had never pressured her about having grandchildren. After saying this, she stretched her fair and smooth little feet into Lin Zikin's hands, with a playful tone said sweetly, "Daddy, help warm your good daughter's feet please." "You little rascal, calling me daddy is becoming an addiction, isn't it?" Lin Zikin said with a laugh, then grasped Shen Qinghan's delicate feet, began to release blood qi power to warm them up, satisfying her modest request. Shen Qinghan defended herself, "Don't falsely accuse me, I'm not addicted to it. I only call you that because you guys like to be called by girls like that, so I'm doing it for you." Lin Zikin teased, "Your mouth tastes sweet, but your words are resolute. You're just being stubborn." Shen Qinghan pouted unhappily. Lin Zikin laughed and pinched her little mouth, no longer teasing her. In the time that followed, the two of them chatted back and forth, from childhood to the present, and from the present to the future, talking about whatever came to mind as if they had endless topics. As they talked, the conversation turned to their encounter with the divine plant cult attack during the day. They discussed the whispering Shen Qinghan heard, the giant arm formed by the sea, the downfall of the ninth elder of the divine plant cult, and the mysterious water droplets swirling around Shen Qinghan. Lin Zikin cared a lot about those droplets. Because when those droplets floated past Shen Qinghan, they would change into shapes that looked like characters. Now thinking back, were those droplets trying to convey some message to Shen Qinghan? With that thought, Lin Zikin got out of bed to get a pen and some scrap paper. Using his super memory, he replicated the shapes of the droplets he had seen on the paper. Only after replicating them did he realize that the shapes the droplets formed really did look like some kind of writing. Lin Zikin randomly picked a few of the more distinct shapes, took photos and uploaded them online to see if he could find something. Unfortunately, the internet search turned up nothing. Could it be that they weren't some kind of writing? Were those droplets just randomly changing shapes for fun? No, that couldn't be right. They must have been trying to convey a message or had some special meaning. Since he couldn't find anything online, he decided to send them to people who had more extensive knowledge. A lot of information isn't publicly available online, most lesser-known data usually requires asking someone who knows. Soon, Lin Zikin sent the photos he just uploaded online to Yuan Dongji, Song Yuan, and Lu Juanmu. The first of these three comes from a prominent family and had wide-ranging knowledge, perhaps he would recognize these mysterious symbols. The other two specialized in research, having studied many ancient artifacts unearthed from ruins, it was quite possible they would recognize these mysterious symbols. Several minutes later, Yuan Dongji and Song Yuan replied one after the other. They replied quickly, but their responses were disappointing. Both said they didn't recognize the symbols. Only the dean left. Lin Zikin murmured to himself. More than an hour passed. Shen Qinghan had fallen asleep, quietly curled up in Lin Zikin's arms, sleeping sweetly. Lin Zikin wasn't sleepy, scrolling through news on his phone. It was nearly 1:30 a.m. Lu Juanmu replied. Lin Zikin quickly opened the chat box and found that Lu Juanmu had sent a voice message, not text. It was a 38-second voice message. Such a long voice message clearly indicated that there was some result. Not wanting to disturb Shen Qinghan, Lin Zikin specially got out of bed to get his earphones. Once he had put on the earphones, he immediately couldn't wait to play the message and hear what Lu Juanmu had to say. "Where did you see these symbols? I feel a bit familiar with them. But I can't remember where I've seen them for the life of me. Now that I think about it, I seem to recall seeing them on some of the ancient objects at the Research Institute. Here's the plan, tomorrow morning I'll go back to the Research Institute and check for you. I'll let you know by WeChat if I find anything. Lu Chuanmu's voice sounded a bit breathless, as if he was exercising. On closer listen, you could faintly hear the crisp sound of applause mixed in, along with the barely perceptible cheering of women. They were cheering things like, "Go, old Lu, give it your all, 1 shot for 1,000,000, 10 shots for 20 million. Upon hearing the cheers in the voice message, Linziken couldn't help but twitch the corners of his mouth. Seriously, couldn't he have paused his other activities when sending a voice message? Did he have to multitask? Linziken silently mocked in his mind, but soon after, he began to admire Lu Chuanmu. One had to say, the dean was truly a role model. To pull in sponsorship for the Research Institute, he went out every night to exercise with his old flames. It was the kind of story that silenced men and brought tears to women, touching all of Jishu's 10 great people. P.S. Bowl out, asking for monthly tickets and recommendation tickets. Chapter 299, 190. Renowned throughout the country. Known to everyone. Xiao Chen, why haven't you gone to bed yet? As Linziken was listening to Lu Chuanmu's voice message, the Shen Qinghan sleeping in his arms awoke. She wasn't woken by the noise, she woke up naturally. I'm not sleepy yet, I'll go to bed later. Then I won't sleep either. Shen Qinghan got up to turn on the light and picked up her phone to stay up late with Linziken. Linziken said to her gently, if you're sleepy, go to sleep first. There's no need to stay up late with me. It's okay, it's the holiday now, I can sleep till whatever time I want tomorrow. As Shen Qinghan spoke, she opened a video app to watch a drama online. It was a genuine online drama. Not an anime educational video from Sakura Sea country. Linziken glanced over. Seeing that Shen Qinghan wasn't watching anime educational videos but was instead watching a genuine ancient palace drama from Jishu, he couldn't help but lament, my little dirty girl has actually stopped watching educational films, my youth is over. You're the dirty one. Shen Qinghan gave Linziken a glare, took her earphones, and put them on, ignoring the annoying ghost. Linziken sidled up to her to watch the drama together. After a while, he felt that the show had too much of a female fanbase flavor and didn't really suit his taste, so he stopped watching. Instead, he opened the school app and browsed the exotic beasts section of the credit store to see if there were any new exotic beast meat listed. As he browsed, he noticed that the supply of 9-turn soul worm meat, which had been in short supply since its recent listing, had become much more plentiful, and the price had dropped significantly. The last time he checked, the price was 50 credits per pound. Now the price had dropped to 40 credits per pound. A 20% discount. If nothing unexpected happened, it probably meant they found the habitat of the 9-turn soul worm, and the production had greatly increased. Looking at the 9-turn soul worm meat in the marketplace, Linziken suddenly thought of a problem. The product details of the 9-turn soul worm meat showed that the 9-turn soul worm was a new type of exotic beast from the origin land that had only been discovered not long ago, and was extremely rare. However, when he devoured the bodies of the divine plant cult's masked men and the hunchbacked masked men during the day, he ingested a large amount of the life essence of the 9-turn soul worms. Merging a large amount of exotic beast gene from an external source internally was not something that could be accomplished overnight. It was a huge project with an extremely long time span. At the shortest a few years, at the longest a decade or more, or even up to 100 years. The higher the grade of the merged exotic beast gene, the longer the time span required. And with the 9-turn soul worm being an exceedingly rare exotic beast with strong spiritual power, its genes must certainly be advanced. To massively merge the genes of the 9-turn soul worm, it would probably be difficult without at least a decade. From this perspective, the masked men of the divine plant cult and the hunchbacked masked men must have started merging the genes of the 9-turn soul worm at least 10 years ago. This suggested that the divine plant cult's understanding of the origin land far surpassed any earthly power. The 9-turned soul worm, just recently discovered by Earth's forces, had already been utilized by the divine plant cult long ago. Essentially, any member with a bit of power in the cult had fused with the 9-turned soul worm gene, using it to enhance their spiritual power. In summary, in terms of awareness, resources, and heritage, Earth's forces were far from matching the heretical sect that was the divine plant cult. This was a rather despairing fact. Because if Earth's forces couldn't even compare to a heretical sect affiliated with the origin land, it meant there was even less comparison with the origin land itself. If it weren't for the World Protection Force, Earth would have likely been completely occupied by the creatures of the origin land long ago. The most fatal issue was that for some unknown reason, the suppression of the origin land creatures by Earth's protective force was weakening year by year. In such an unfavorable situation for Earth's forces, it was only natural that there would be plenty of traitors. The traitors all believed that Earth's forces had no future, and that rather than perishing alongside Earth's forces, they would choose to embrace the forces of the origin land and betray their own for a chance at survival. To say survival might not be quite right. According to the traitors, what they did was stepping out of darkness into light, living a more splendid life. After all, embracing the origin land could gain them better resources for evolution, giving them a chance to break the limits imposed by Earth and evolve into higher forms of life. After pondering these issues for a while, Linziken tapped a few times on his phone screen. He spent a total of 800 credits and ordered 20 pounds of 9-turned soul worm meat. He had unlocked the 9-turned soul worm album back when he was in the coastal forest, and after unlocking it, he obtained the biometric attribute of Advanced Spirit. The reason he still bought the 9-turned soul worm meat was to further enhance the strength of his Advanced Spirit. The mechanism of the biometric attribute Survival of the Fittest works like this. Devouring the life essence of a certain exotic beast can unlock the album of that beast, allowing one to gain the most prominent biometric attribute of that exotic beast. If one devours more of that beast's life essence in the future, it will enhance the strength of the corresponding biometric attribute. After his battle with the fox-eared girl, Linziken deeply realized one thing. Having physical strength but lacking in spiritual strength can be very disadvantageous when facing opponents with psychic powers. To eliminate this weakness, it was crucial to focus on strengthening his spiritual power. Not necessarily to turn a weakness into a strength, but at least not to let it hold him back. After purchasing the 9-turned soul worm meat, Linziken continued browsing the credit store. After a few minutes, meat from an exotic beast he had never seen before successfully caught his attention. Product: Dimensional rat meat. Price: 100 credits/pound. 100 credits a pound. Translated into money, that's equivalent to over $1 million per pound. That's expensive. Linziken felt the price was a bit discouraging. However, expensive items naturally have their reasons and value for being expensive. As to whether it's worth it or not, he would know after reading the product details. Thinking this, Linziken clicked to view the product details. Chapter 300, 190, renowned across the country. Known to all, _2. It took more than 10 seconds to read through and get a rough understanding of the dimensional rat. Like the 9-turned soul worm, the dimensional rat is a new exotic beast discovered by humans in recent years. It looks a lot like a squirrel and has similar habits. Squirrels like to store food, and so do dimensional rats. The only difference is that squirrels generally like to store food in places like tree hollows. Dimensional rats, on the other hand, prefer to store food in the pouches on either side of their mouths. An adult dimensional rat can store food more than 100 times its body volume on either side of its mouth. It's as if there's a bottomless dimensional space in its mouth where it can keep stuffing things inside. After reading the product details about the dimensional rat, the word storage space immediately came to mind for Linziken. It seems that this kind of exotic beast, the dimensional rat, likely has a storage space in its mouth. Just like the storage bags in Cultivation novels, it can fit a large volume of objects inside. Thinking of storage space, Linziken couldn't help but think of the fox-eared girl. Previously, when facing the fox-eared girl, he had seen her conjure a beast skin collar out of thin air. He thought that the fox-eared girl must possess the kind of storage tool he imagined. For example, a storage ring, storage bag, or storage jade pendant, etc. Or simply a storage space, one located within the knowledge sea. Otherwise, it would be impossible to explain how the fox-eared girl could produce the beast skin collar out of nothing. After these thoughts, Linziken's mind returned to the dimensional rat meat. Based on his past experience with opening atlases, he guessed that opening the atlas of the dimensional rat would likely grant him a biometric attribute with storage functionality. If that were true, things would be much more convenient when going out in the future. He could carry a vast amount of supplies without worrying that the weight would affect his mobility. 100 credits per pound, and to open an atlas, I need to save up 10,000 credits. That many credits, it will take quite a while to accumulate. Before that, I'll buy a pound to start off and mark a progress bar. With that thought, Linziken didn't hesitate and immediately spent 100 credits to order a pound of dimensional rat meat. The delivery address is his home. If it's fast, it should arrive by tomorrow morning. After placing the order and seeing that the time was late, Linziken put down his cell phone, ready to sleep. At this moment, Shen Qinghan, who was watching a drama next to him, took off her headphones with a cheerful face, stretched out her hand to pat his arm, and said with a laugh, Xiao Chen, you have to see this drama. There's a lady with the surname Shen inside, and she has an eunuch under her named Little Linzi. Our surnames match theirs exactly, what a coincidence, haha. Shen Qinghan said and laughed, her entire being delighted as she showed her phone screen to Linziken. Linziken looked at the screen of her phone and indeed, just as she said, there was a beautiful lady surnamed Shen, and an eunuch called Little Linzi. This was surely too much of a coincidence. It was completely absurd. Xiao Chen, from now on, I am the stunningly beautiful and wise Lady Shen, and you are my personal eunuch Little Linzi. Shen Qinghan said with a smile, her peach blossom eyes curving and her face full of laughter. Linziken poked her cheek with his finger, you were calling me daddy just now, and it hasn't been that long, now you're looking at me as your personal eunuch, you disrespectful unfilial girl. I'm not calling you daddy, every time I do, you say I'm dirty. From now on, I'll call you Little Linzi. Little Linzi. Little Linzi. You are this palace's Little Linzi. Yes, 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 I'm your personal eunuch Little Linzi. Tonight I'm going to rebel and severely offend you, this high and mighty lady. As he spoke, Linziken pinned Shen Qinghan down on the bed and started to playfully bully her. Shen Qinghan, being tickled until she couldn't take it anymore, her fair and delicate feet tensing up, pleaded with a face that was both uncomfortable and enjoying, stop, it's so ticklish, daddy, daddy, I'm wrong, please stop. Linziken wouldn't stop, he was set on rebelling and bullying the beautiful and intelligent Lady Shen beneath him, making sure she would never dare to call him Little Linzi again. She had to be taught a lesson, to know what it means when an eunuch gets angry, the lady is exposed. While the two of them were frolicking at the Jingdo Li family, Nanjiang Yuan family, Mecha God Group, the Zhuzhou Military Region Headquarters, and an underground palace 20,000 meters under Shanghai City. These and many other powerful forces were discussing the same thing within their respective territories. They were discussing Linziken's performance in the elite training camp, and the divine plant cult's interest in him. In the Jingdo Li family, the current patriarch Li Chongsheng, his eldest son and capital city genius Li Yujin, second son Li Moyu, and several other influential sideline family members were discussing Linziken together. Moyu, you said that the new champion at your school has the physical strength of an ordinary 9th rank and can even resist the mental attacks of a fox girl of the same rank. The head of the Li family looked at his second son, Li Moyu, and asked. Li Moyu was absolutely certain, "It's true, Dad, I didn't exaggerate at all." Then Lin Zikan really is a freak. Even though he walks the pure-blood human path, without having merged any exotic beast gene, the physical strength he showed is several levels stronger than mine, even though I've merged the gene of the magic eye giant ape. It's completely outrageous. After listening to his brother's words, Li Yujin couldn't help but frown and said, "Is it the enhancement of the pure-blood human path, or is he naturally this strong?"